Hey guys, welcome back for another swatch and review video. In this one, I'm going to be covering the Natasha Denona Eye Sculpt Texture and Tone Palette. So this one you're looking at is the soft palette. There is also a second one that is the dramatic palette. I just chose this one because I felt the colors would work better for me. There are 3 formulas in this palette, so first off, let's start off with the Silky mattes. Interestingly, all of the Silky mattes are on the lighter side in this palette, and the deeper shades are mostly creams. So the Silky mattes are a regular powder matte. They have a medium pigmentation and very little to no fallout that I was able to notice. They're super easy to blend, and there's just a little bit of kick up in the pan if you use the color heavily, but otherwise I think these are a solid, easy to use formula. Here are all the slip creams that are in this palette. So these are a drier type of cream. They're not greasy. They're not all that emollient. They do perform mostly like a powder, but they are not as pigmented as powders. So if you were to put a shade, like pick any shade of these and set it side by side with a powder counterpart that matches, you would find that the powder is going to give you more color payoff than these creams will. So, for example, if you go into W3, the deepest brown in the warm column, you can go in easily with a flat shader brush and just put that on the lid, and it's not going to be as intense as you might expect. They are still usable as liners, so if you use an angled brush with some of the very deepest shades, they definitely show up well and go on evenly as liner. If you use some of the lighter shades like R3 and Y3 in the same way, you might find they don't have quite enough color payoff to do what you want. They'll definitely show up, but you might not get the impact that you're hoping for. There was some more noticeable fallout from these shades, especially the very deepest ones, if I went in very heavily with the shade. If I just used them lightly to deepen the outer corner, for example, I didn't notice any fallout from them. As far as the cream eyeshadow formulas I've tried, I do like these. They're up there with some of my favorite formulas. And there are 3 metallics in this palette, so C1 and N1 are the only 2 that have a noticeably shimmery finish. N2 is more of a satin matte. That one does have a little more reflective quality than all of the Silky mattes, but it is super, super subtle. I got a little bit of fallout from C1 and N1. It was more noticeable from C1, but it was still on the super low end of fallout. It was nowhere near what I would find irritating or something that would deter me from using them. The particles are very small in these shimmer finish eyeshadows. They aren't chunky. They don't fall down all that easily, and they're easy to clean up. These ones adhered better over the lid if I applied them with a damp brush or over primer or directly onto bare lids. I didn't have the best of luck applying these straight over other matte eyeshadows. I felt like I got barely any color payoff if I did that and hardly any shine. Out of everything that's in this palette, I would say the metallics are the weakest link. I wouldn't call them duds by any means, but they're just not quite as good and I don't enjoy them as much as I do the Silky mattes and the slip creams. The packaging of this palette is similar to the MIDI palettes, so the pans are the same size, but it has been updated so that the palette itself is smaller and it fits perfectly in my hand. The updated packaging still has the holes on the back, so if you like to, you can still push the pans out from the back if you want. I tried using a paper clip and a toothpick, and both of them worked fine. So anything that's like long enough and skinny enough will fit through the back. And it is a little bit awkward to kind of hold the palette up while also pushing the shade through, so just be careful. There were times when I was afraid that I might drop the palette. I kind of felt like I needed an extra hand or two to help me do this. One thing you can try is using a magnet covered in a tissue, and then you can pull the shade out from the front. That's another thing to do, but you could risk nicking the shadow. So, however you choose to try doing this, just be careful. Here's the box that the palette came in. So there's some info if you would like to look at that in more detail. All the ingredients are listed for every shade. There's another little card included in here, and it shows what formula all of these shades are and the name of them. When you look at each shade, there's going to be a combination of letters and numbers. So, for example, R1 is 597 SKM, and at the end of that name, that combination of letters indicates what the formula is. So, SKM stands for Silky Matte, M stands for Metallic, SC stands for Slip Cream, and in this palette, those are the only three formulas we have, but there are many other formulas in across the Natasha Denona brand, so that's a way that you can read um, what is in your palette if you're curious. And you might notice that these are organized in columns. They go by R, P, Y, C, W, and N, and those stand for rosy, peachy, yellow, cool toned, warm toned, and neutral. I just wanted to throw in a few comparisons here at the end. So here's a custom palette that I pulled a bunch of singles out from and I just kind of threw them all together. These are shades that I gravitate towards very often. They're some of my favorite shades that suit me well. Just glancing at this overview, I can see between the two, they have a really nice overlap in tones. Here's the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette, which is another one that works super well for me. There is a lot of overlap in the mid-tones between these two palettes, but the I Need a Nude has a much better selection of shimmers. If shimmer is important to you and you like this general range of tones, I'd probably say go for the I Need a Nude over this one. Here's the I Need a Warm palette, which has a lot of peachy, reddish bronze tones. And here's the Golden palette. This has some peach, gold, and bronze tones as well. So here are a couple old palettes of mine, the Tartlet and Bloom and the original Tartlet palette. These took me by surprise a little bit. I found a lot of similarities in the range of shades and the tones and depths when I compare both of these to this new one by Natasha Denona. To me, it seems like she took a lot of inspiration from these palettes. These were some go-to ones for me back in the day, so I like that the Natasha Denona one has basically the same range of shades, but with a better updated formula. Here's another classic, the Too Faced Born This Way, the Natural Nudes palette. This one is all warm toned across the board. So in comparison to the Natasha Denona palette, I definitely prefer the Natasha Denona palette. So here's the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3 palette, which is all mattes and two basic creams on the bottom there. This one is either very, very warm if you use the top shades or like super neutral, cool toned on the bottom. There's not really a whole lot of variation here except in depth. Here is the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, the Neutrals palette. I haven't used this one as much as I've used um, the Natasha Denona palettes, like her palettes in general. I have more experience with than with this formula, but I do really like this little palette. There's a lot in here. And I would say this is a close second if you're interested in a palette like this. And it is nice that it's a little more compact and has that dark gray in there. Last one I picked out to compare is the Natasha Denona My Mini Dream palette. This is like one of my favorite little palettes from her, just because I feel like I can grab this one to use every day. It has the perfect tones in it. It's fairly neutral. It's got like a little bit of a pinkish, reddish toned lean to it, but otherwise it's pretty neutral and works really well with my skin tone. So you can kind of get an idea how these tones compare to the ones in the larger palette. If you're close to my skin tone, you might enjoy this one. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.